So I played in Canada, I played in the US, I played in college. My goal was to play college hockey. I started roller hockey here. There wasn't a lot of support in that sense in the Turks and Caicos Islands. So a lot of my understanding of what I needed to do was done on my research. So my first tip would be thoroughly go through your school's website. You'd be surprised at the amount of resources that these schools allow the students to have full access to. And once you have a good understanding of where you may be able to find it, once you go, you have your questions that you already want to ask, and you would know where to go and how to do it and what to do going forth once you get to the school. The second thing I would also say is budget your expenses realistically and adjust periodically, because obviously, like my co-host said, a lot of things change throughout the year, and there's times when you need to adjust your expenses. You may have, for example, sometimes during the year, I would have to buy a new pair of hockey skates, which is much more expensive than a new pair of tennis shoes. So you have to adjust. And what I also learned too is to diversify your networking earlier on. So yes, you want to be along with the Caribbean students. I made it a conscious effort to not live with any of my hockey teammates because I know I would be with them 6, 7 days out of the week. So I wanted to, all right, I know I'll be with them in the locker room, hockey games and stuff. Who else is out there? Now, some of my closer friends are people that I lived with throughout college. I will also say, for me, was to plan my work experience early. I messed up on this one, but I was luckily blessed enough to be able to get back on course. But plan your work experience early, or plan to have your work experience early, because there are things you can do throughout your school year, especially in the first 2 years, that may make that easier in the long run. And last but not least, stay focused and enjoy the journey. No matter how bad the culture shock can be, you gotta understand this is just a phase, this is just a journey, and it's gonna be fun once you look back on it and you say, man, I went here, I did this, I did that, and it was a fun time, it was a great time, and you learn so much more about yourself. You feel stronger, you feel like you can take on a lot more things than you didn't with before you left. So just remember that this is a phase. You're here to do what you need to do, get what you need to get, and stay focused and just enjoy it. Enjoy the journey.
Very well. Can see that you were brought up like a good Caribbean son. Didan, why do students abroad tend to lose their own culture? And can they experience culture shock at the departing and arriving airports? And how? Talk to us. Talk to us.
All right. Well, something a lot of people don't realize is that once you leave your home country, you have to deal with identity reconstruction. That's because the identity that you had back home, as maybe the crazy boy who wants to play hockey and he lives in a Caribbean island, and then there's the identity that you aspire towards. I'm going to be a major league hockey player. And then there's the identity that your loved ones expect of you. He's gonna be rich and famous. And then the assumptions that this host community has. They say, oh, this Caribbean boy, he lives in a treehouse back in Turks and Caicos. And so you have all these identities coming at you and merging, and you have to figure out who you're going to be. In that process, that is how you appear to lose your culture. But I wouldn't say it's losing your culture. You are simply reconstructing who you are, and it's not possible to change your environment without changing who you are and how you show up in the world. Now, when you think about airports going and coming, listen, even if you go from your hometown to another parish, it's possible to deal with culture shock. So just expect it. Once you are leaving your
Wherever you
home, you're
go.
gonna deal with it. And it's like with excellent advice. Do your research. Get on the university's website. They often give you advice about how to navigate the airport, and will sometimes even meet you there to assist you through the process. Get in touch with other people from your hometown, your home country, and find out how did you navigate this process, so they can give you tips and hacks to say, don't do this, make sure you carry that, pack this here, make sure you change your money at this point and not at another point. So those are some of the ways to minimize the stress.
Boy, you have it locked, Didan. Trust me. A very interesting discussion so far with our esteemed guests, looking at international students and faced with culture shock. Grab a bottle of water As we take a break, don't move your dial. We'll be right back.
Royal Central Praise RCP Internet Radio and TV in St. Kitts invites you to listen to Caribbean News Brief CNB on Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 a.m. Join Caribbean veteran in news production and news presentation for over 30 years, Ambassador Professor Reverend Dr. Colin O'Neill Jarrett from Jamaica, for reliable and comprehensive news in the Caribbean. CNB on RCP every Tuesday and Friday at 10 in the morning. RCP, the breath of fresh air.
Thank you for sticking and staying with us on Come and Relax with HeCoin with our esteemed guests, Didan Ashanta, Elvia Wright, and Christoph Malcolm, all experts in the field of our discussion. As we wrap up this segment, how can we be relevant to our listening audience on this topic? So I have one question that I'll ask all three of you. Can our receiving relatives overseas add positively and or negatively to the culture shock experience? And I'll start with Christoph, then Didan, then Elvia.
Can you repeat the question, please? Sorry.
Can our receiving relatives overseas add positively and or negatively to the culture shock experience?
Oh, yes, definitely. I believe that positively, when I left Turks and Caicos Islands, there was Skype. That's how I would communicate with my relatives home, and then it gradually got to WhatsApp, where I could talk, more periodically and more common than when it was with Skype. So I believe that was a positive factor, that they helped, where I could just be able to call them, hey, I'm going through this. Can you please assist with this? Can you please help with this? Negatively, which would be like usually when my dad's joking, like, yeah, man, I just made some nice, caught fish and buds and rice or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I just had Chipotle. So that was just something. It was just a joke, but obviously it's just something that you would really miss going home.
Thank you, Didan.
Okay, well, on my side of the whole perspective of helping, I think it's important for receiving relatives to remember your experience. Sometimes you've been abroad so long, you forget how tough it was. So take the time to remember what the struggle was like and prepare the student for the hurdles that are bound to come. Give them insights into how they can get ahead, because they shouldn't fall in the same potholes that you fell in when you were coming along. Allow them to be equipped to be their best, because they will never forget how you made sure that their path was smooth, and they will repay you for it. I mean, you open your home, you open your heart, so help them to make it not such a rough and bumpy ride by remembering what it was like and guiding them through the process.
Elvia.
Thanks, Prof. Receiving relatives can really be a challenge. Many of them do not communicate, sometimes up to the point of the person coming. They are not even aware as to exactly what is really happening with this person. Many of them, I had the experience of speaking with some students again in New York, and they really had challenges. So for me, on the positive side, they ought to be aware of who is coming, the type of person, whoever it is. Just know your relative that is coming to you. Speak with, if it's your brother's child or your sister's child or your own child, be aware of who the person is. Have some kind of contact. Because do you know that even sometimes when these students go to the airport, they are asked some questions as to who they are going to, and many of them are not able to really share much of what they should know. So it is really critical for them to be aware. Again, that awareness for me is so important. But on the positive side, there are some that really prepare for their relatives who are coming. And we should say kudos to those persons, because they make their life better. And they will in turn, once their life is made better, they will in turn help others who will be coming to them at a later date.
Very interesting. Two principals out of Canada just sent me text messages indicating that they would want to know where they can find this recording. So that they can share it with their international students. So there you go. There, and I'm going to recommend them to Ashanta too. So Daidan, so you can stay there, smile. Now, the last questions I have for you. Can you provide an example where culture shock stared its ugly head right in your face? I will start with one. I needed batteries for an appliance, and I went to a store in New York and asked them at one of the pharmacies there, can I have some the triple D batteries? And they couldn't understand. And the young lady's telling me, I don't have any batteries. And behind her, I am seeing the batteries. And I pointed at it and said, there are the batteries. I need 3 packs. And hear her to me, oh, you're talking about batteries, batteries. And there you go. I am just standing and say, oh, my dear, I'm from the Caribbean. We don't call it batteries. We call it batteries. Elvie, I want you to start, and then Christoph, and then Daidan. Quickly, please.
I want to share a situation with a relative whose children were sent to him. And it really turned out very bad because he had not seen his children for many years. And so when they got there, when those children got there, they eventually left. Reason being, their wife was not familiar with them. The children, I think they were, as it were, they were not very happy with what had happened with their mother and their father earlier. So the parents had separated, the father had now married, and it turned out real wrong. All of those children ended up, one literally on the street, but an aunt took her in. Another one found a sister elsewhere, lived there, and the last one lived with the one that had found the aunt. It can end up, bad situations can really go wrong. So for me, for that one, it was a real challenge.
Mm-hmm. Christoph, 30 seconds.
I left the Turks and Caicos Islands January 11th, 2011. Never had seen snow before. And we landed in Toronto, Canada with my dad. And we stepped outside for a minute. And that's the coldest I've ever been. And that was a real culture shock. I was wondering what I was doing there. And that's the only thing I could remember, really.
That's a good one. Daidan?
I will go with a language situation after living in Japan for 8 years and having hurdles with, getting detailed information, let's say in stores or business places. When I relocated to Newfoundland, I often forgot that I could ask questions in English. And sometimes I would be having a conversation with someone just around who was with me in a store, and I would hear a passerby just respond to me, answering my question in English. And it always surprised me, like they can understand me, because living in Japan, many times people wouldn't understand what I'm saying simply because I wasn't speaking in Japanese. So even from one foreign country to another foreign country, you can still be struggling with adapting.
And I want to end with you because you have a company. So I want you to tell us about it in a minute, and how can persons reach you? Just a background on your company. How can we reach you, and include your telephone numbers and all your social media platforms?
Okay. Well, Resilient Foreigner is on a mission to equip 1 million migrant workers and students to become resilient. There are over 280 million people around the world right now who are living on study permits and work permits. That's a lot of people. And so we want to make a dent in that bucket. We offer one-on-one consultations, training sessions online, because we deal with people from multiple continents, different time zones. And in next week, we'll be releasing our updated strategic planning workshop. It's called Thrive Abroad Roadmap. And then we'll be opening up our membership community in time for the fall semester. So even if you are the only person from Turks and Caicos in the middle of Montreal. You can connect with other resilient students located wherever they are in the globe and feel a sense of belonging and oneness as you grow together through the experience. You can get details on resilientforeigner.com, info@resilientforeigner.com, and we'll be opening up, transitioning to our IG and TikTok channels, all of them at Resilient Foreigner.
Telephone.
Oh, we can't hear you, Professor. I think you're muted.
Thank you. I'm sure we all understand why I've asked Diane to explain about her company, because she would be able to assist in the process of Culture Shock. It was a pleasure having you, our guests, here with us today on this discussion segment of preparing our international students for Culture Shock. This is real, listeners, real. As an educator, I can tell you so. It is real. Thanks to Diane Ashanta, Mrs. Elvia Wright, and Mr. Christoph Malcolm for being our guests on Come and Relax with HeCoin.
Come and Relax with HeCoin is a feature of Health Education and Counseling Institute HeCoin, the premier online educational institution in the Caribbean. For individuals, companies, and foundations that wish to donate or contribute to this program, which is primarily to provide solutions to the worldwide issues of the day, please call in or WhatsApp your donation. 1-876-223-7204 on Thursdays between 8:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. EST, or during work hours Monday through Friday 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. EST, or email president@hecoinglobal.com. HeCoin, reaching people where they are, leading them to where they should go. Monkeypox is an illness caused by the monkeypox virus and can be spread from person to person. Based on the World Health Organization (WHO), there have been 14,000 cases worldwide with 5 deaths. Diabetes, on the other hand, is a chronic health condition and affects how your body turns food into energy. Come and Relax with HeCoin, the voice of Health Education and Counseling Institute, the premier online international training institution, will look at monkeypox and diabetes management. HeCoin feels honored and privileged to have as our guest in Come and Relax with HeCoin, founder and president of Midtown Atlanta Nephrology PC, Dr. Frita McCray Fisher, a medical doctor in the USA who has been triple board certified in nephrology, internal medicine, and pediatrics. She's a philanthropist, businesswoman, and a dynamic, humorous speaker and a publisher. Her commitment to medicine and education, however, go far deeper than the eyes can see. Join host, marketing and media specialist, health educator and administrator, and professor of media studies for over 30 years, Ambassador Professor Reverend Dr. Colin O'Neill Jarrett from Jamaica, as he discusses with Dr. Frita on the issues of monkeypox and diabetes management. The date to remember, Thursday, August 18, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. in Jamaica or 8:30 p.m. EST on various international platforms all across the world, including the websites, Facebook, and YouTube on RCP Internet Radio and TV, DCM, UFTV Gospel, and all platforms of TDN. HeCoin, reaching people where they are, leading them to where they should go. Wow, wow.
Come and Relax with HeCoin came to you today from Mansell East Meets West Indian Restaurant in Ocherias. Call them at 1-876-601-2612. Let me thank the following stations for sharing their platform and for making this program available to you: RCP Internet Radio and TV, TDN TV on vstreams.com, TDN TV on Facebook, TDN Network 1 on YouTube, UFDV Gospel and DCM Radio and TV on all its platforms. We are still in Jamaica 60, and so I will leave a beautiful rendition from the Honorable Dr. Louis Benny Coverly OJ. This long time gal me never see you. You have to say it in patois to understand, and can only be appreciated and sung in the Jamaican language. A thought for you this week: culture shock is often felt sharply at the borders between countries, but sometimes it doesn't hit fully until you have been in a place for a long time. By Henry Bresson. Join us this and every Thursday at this time for Come and Relax with HeCoin, sponsored by HeCoin. I'm Ambassador Professor Reverend Dr. Colin O. Jarrett, President and CEO, and in the second generation of this 33-year-old flagship training institution in Jamaica, the Caribbean and beyond, Health Education and Counseling Institute. Please now receive the benediction. May the strength of God sustain us. May the power of God preserve us. May the hands of God protect us. May the way of God direct us. May the love of God go with us this day, now, and forevermore. Amen and amen. Walk good, my friend.
Could you please welcome Dr. Louise Bennett?
Make me hold your hand. Feel head jump cross, sit down for three top, pick up the blossom. Make me hold your hand, girl. Make me hold your hand. All right, Mr. Music, wait on dear little. Aye. Now you see, that is the Jamaican welcome song. Come make me hold your hand. Now you have to welcome me, I welcome you. So you're going to sing with me. Come make me hold your hand. All right, yes, dear. But I don't want to hear anybody say, come let me hold your hand. You see? Because you're going to pile up the culture. No matter with that. Come make me hold your hand. Come make me hold. This long time, girl, me never see you. Come make me hold your hand. It's a long time, girl, me never see you. Come make me hold your hand. See what happened? I don't want to hear anybody saying walk and talk. And when I go to Canada, I don't have any trouble with this because they naturally say walk and talk. This long time, girl, me never see. Come make me walk and talk. It's a long time, girl, me never see. Come make me walk and talk. Feel head jump, cross, sit down, for feet, and pick up the blossom. Make me walk and talk. Like we walk and talk. Now we're coming to the mentor. You know the mentor that go da 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 da. You know that part? Yes, man. Make we read and turn till we tumble down. Make me hold your hand, girl. Make we read and turn till we tumble down. Make me hold your hand, girl. Come, read and turn till we tumble down. Make me hold your hand, girl. Make me read and turn till we tumble down. Make me hold your hand, girl. Oh, thank you, my dear. Thank you so much.